Yeah, John.
Peter, good morning.
Morning.
Based on an earlier question, can we just clarify the match and the loan aspect
Okay.
of it? Considering there's a $10,000 buy-in from myself,
Okay.
okay? Can you explain how the rest of it, or where the loan comes in? or
Okay,
what the match is?
let's say you're going to improve the facade on your building, and let's say that you've determined that those costs are $20,000. Let's just use that as a number. Basically, you give us a brief application. We go through the process. We issue a secondary application, request a secondary. You come in, you've done all the permit, and we reach that point where we're going to give you a loan commitment. We're going to commit that if you're spending $20,000, we will commit in a form that you can take to your bank or to your lender, that we're going to, when you spend that $20,000, we will reimburse you $10,000. That'll be a letter from the city committee to use that portion of its CDBG funds. Once those funds are paid to you, we start the determination date. If you're the downtown area, we're talking about a loan that will depreciate 1/5 every year. There will be no interest on that loan. So in your case, where the costs were $20,000, we will be giving you $10,000. We will put I guess you'd call it a lien on the building, stating to the effect that we've lent you $10,000, and that it depreciates down. If the building's in good standing for 5 years, you won't owe anything on that loan.
All right, so the whole match of the loan is not a grant.
No.
Okay. There's no like assistance with a grant as well as.
I guess.
In other words, there's some municipalities, that's why I need to clear for folks. There are some municipalities that actually grant a match.
Yeah, we are not.
This is a loan.
This is, well, it's
Okay.
determined. Well, it's a kind of a hybrid, if you will. It's a loan that essentially dissolves depending on the location of your building. If you're downtown, that loan, which carries no interest, will dissolve after 5 years. If you're in some of the other areas and we approve your loan, it will dissolve after 10 years, 1/10 of a year, 1/5 of a year. Yeah, John.
Do you have the overlay of what determines the actual 5 and 10 year?
What we're doing is essentially the downtown business area is the 5-year area, and there are going to be some gray areas, but basically the concentration of the program was at the metro downtown, but in the downtown business district, and then after that it's Campello and other business districts. We're not simply limiting it to those 3 business districts, but that's where we'd like to see it spent. If you have a project that does not fall in that area, we still want to see it. We're not.
Well, for instance, the gentleman here, they have a property on Main Street. So do we. But where's that 5 and 10 year line drawn? We're just this side of Forest Ave.
Okay.
Is that considered downtown, or is that in another district?
I guess I would assume it's downtown. I mean, we have not drawn a firm line on that.
Okay.
We're thinking things out by Westgate Mall. That's not downtown.
Right.
You know, things way out on the borders of Brockton. That's not downtown. You know, things that are on Belmont Street by the high school. You know, Belmont Street closer to Main Street in Montello, that's a different story. But we're just trying to focus the energy in the center of town to bring people from the outside, where there is lots of business, back down to the heart of Brockton. So anything that is in that outer area, is what would be given a 10-year loan determination.
Gotcha. So one might assume that if you have a Main Street address, you might be considered downtown.
Yeah.
Most likely.
There's a downtown business district and the card area.
Mhm.
So they are 2 separate things. So you may be in the downtown business district, or you may be in the card area. And that,
Yeah, I think the idea was to use the card area. I think it's broader.
the card area is much broader.
I think the idea was to use the card
And you
area
would use that for the
5-year loan.
5-year.
Yeah.
So that
That
is-
was the idea. I mean,
That is much broader.
Yeah.
The applicant can be an entity.
right, could be, basically what we're looking for is the owner. Okay, if the owner is an LLC, if it's an LP, if it's a corporation, We're looking for the owner.
Okay, trusts.
Trust, yes. We're looking for the owner of the property.
Peter, that's another question on that. The owner, so what happens if it's a tenant that applies? They have to go through the owner.
The owner has to be, the tenant doesn't have any standing in terms of being able to borrow money unless he has some sort of rent to own or has some sort of ownership position. We really have to deal with the owner. It's a loan to the owner.
When you have these buildings that have multiple storefronts,
You know, I understand, it's not that portion is not an easy problem. I mean, because you've granted them rights, or the owner has granted these, you know, I guess in a very optimistic kind of thing, I don't know of a store owner that wouldn't want if the owner wants to improve the fronts of the buildings, so he might limit his traffic a little bit, but I can't imagine him not wanting to upgrade the building.
I think to answer that question, we would redirect the tenant to speak to their landlord or to the building owner, and that idealistically would promote maybe a better relationship between the owner, the tenant, and the city of all working together to get this project to move forward.
I think it's actually our hope for the people that are on the committee that any building owner is going to approach their tenants to explain what it is that they're doing and the improvements that they're hoping to make, just to make sure that everybody's aware and on board. I mean, I don't know if we as a committee would be able to require that, but one would hope that they would take that initiative to make that communication, because it's all about being having a good landlord-tenant relationship.
Just to clarify, so we don't have to apply for a loan for this program?
No.
If we've got our own funds and we come forward with it, there's a match?
There's a match, correct.
Is there any type of criteria you have to follow for storefront design, like lighting or removing of grates or?
There's a general, there's a downtown Brockton design. There's actually a design which we'll share with you. I'll get you an email of that. It was done in '97. Okay, so and basically that's what we're trying to follow. You come in with a proposal. I think that with the people that are on the committee, we'll ask some of those questions and clarify some of those issues early, I hope. Well, thank you all. If you don't have any other questions, feel free to get in touch with me, and I'll see if I can get the answers for you, and appreciate your all coming. And